Now we also have with us our guest, Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, and also Matthew Vadam, American journalist from Washington, D.C. Mr. Vadam, let me just come to you first. How do you assess the significance of this visit, and how is United States viewing this visit of the Russian president to India as well?
Well, India has always been part of what used to be called the non-aligned movement, so it's not surprising that India is maintaining its ties with Russia. I don't think the U.S. government looks favorably upon this visit because the U.S. government, the Trump administration, has been trying to pressure India to break off its relations with Russia and to not purchase oil, to not purchase energy from Russia, because that provides funds for Russia to continue its war in Ukraine. And that has been the main U.S. interest in trying to dissuade India from having warmer relations with Russia.
All right, Ambassador Dayal, let me just bring you in on that point as well. What do you have to say about that?
Well, you know, India has been singled out for the oil tariffs by the Trump administration. Other countries, including China and many European countries, are buying energy and oil supplies from Russia, but they have not had these tariffs imposed. So we do note that we have been singled out for this. Nonetheless, let me mention that regardless of the pressure which the United States tries to bear on India, we are attaching a lot of importance to Vladimir Putin's visit because it carries diplomatic, economic, and strategic importance. And it is primarily aimed at reaffirming and strengthening their special and privileged strategic partnership amidst the shifting global geopolitics and Western pressure on India. Let me mention that we have been extremely disheartened by the fact that President Trump, in his second term, has been imposing a lot of tariffs on trade where India is concerned and also augmented them with the oil-related tariffs. So we are hurt by U.S. actions. And if the U.S. is trying to say that it's exerting pressure on India to distance itself from Russia, the point is, what is the United States doing with other countries, such as those in Europe, which are also big purchasers of Russian oil and gas? We feel that we have been treated unduly harshly, and we keep our options open. You know, India is not a small country. India is a big global player. We are the world's fifth largest economy. We would like to keep our options open. We like to take decisions which serve our own interests. And if purchasing oil from Russia serves to meet our interests, because our energy requirements are enormous, then we will certainly fashion our policy, keeping in mind, as I said, our own interests.
Right, Ambassador Dayal and Mr. Vadam, please do stay on with us. We will be discussing that further. Let me just go across to my colleagues, Arun Dhanta and Siddharth Mishra. Thank you so much for staying on so patiently with me. Arun, let me just come to you. Let's talk about trade. As Ambassador was mentioning as well, India has a responsibility to, of course, prioritize its own strategic interests. To that end, of course, we are seeing that there's this goal to reach $100 billion in bilateral trade. That's a target set for 2030. Right now, we are seeing a deficit. Currently, that trade number is at $68 billion that you'd mentioned earlier. What sort of strategies do you think India will have at its disposal to reach that target?
Well, that's right. Last year, remember, this target was fixed of $100 billion for 2030 between both the countries. And we've been discussing this earlier, Haim, that India, of course, would be wary of this fact that they are also doing trade talks with the United States and also, of course, with the European Union. And both of them, of course, have been speaking about this, that India could play a huge role in stopping war between Russia and Ukraine. So United States and European Union would be watching this visit and the outcome of this visit very closely. Of course, there's a trade deficit between Russia and India. India, of course, would be eyeing on that front, and therefore the economic areas, especially those areas where Russia is in demand because of the sanction from the Western countries. Pharmaceutical is one such sector where India is already doing good, exports to Russia, but they would want to increase it more. You will have the agriculture sector, which has been facing dent due to the additional sanctions from the tariff from the United States side on India. So Indian market would be looking at Russia, for that, especially the sea products, seafood, etc., because those were the products which India usually would send to United States. And now when you have this additional 25% tariff on India, many of people associated with that have shifted somewhere else. They are eyeing for a bigger market, so Russia can actually fill in there. And also, of course, automobile sector is also an important sector where India can expand with Russia. So as they have fixed $100 billion target for 2030, can that be achieved amidst all these talks with United States and European Union? That's something which is going to be very, very crucial to watch during this visit of Putin.
All right, let me just come to you now, Siddhant. Thank you so much for waiting so patiently. Now, of course, just to expand on what Arun was also saying, let's talk about that 100 billion target for 2030 that India has set for itself. That being said, how do you view the strengthening of trade and connectivity between the two nations? Are we expected to see any sort of bilateral agreements on this or any sort of breakthroughs?
Well, hey, this has been in talks from a very long time, and trade deficit has been the concern of the Indian government from the very long time. In fact, Russian side very well acknowledge this concern of the Indian government. So, at the time of this visit, the business delegation, both from Russia and India, have been meeting from last 2 days. In fact, we have been told that they have been given tasks to plan out strategy how to reduce the trade deficit. Now, the biggest issue here is that Russia welcomes Indian companies to be coming to Russia to invest, to set up plants, to start manufacturing units, etc., etc. But most of these Indian companies have their trading relations and their offices in Europe and United States. So if these companies move to Russia, set up a manufacturing unit, perhaps they could come under the sanctions. So this is the biggest concern. Point number one. Point number two, as far as trade deficit is concerned, because Russia was removed from the SWIFT payment systems. In fact, for the longest time between Russia and India, when India was importing crude, there were billions and billions of dollars of Russia was in the Indian bank accounts, because there could not be payments made to the Russian side. Then somehow the payment mechanism was worked out between the two sides. Now, to reduce the trade deficit, the first thing which is required is the private players to be coming up and increase exports to Russia. First point. Second, there is also talks about the collaboration between Indian rupee systems and Mir systems of Russia. In fact, yesterday, Russian First Deputy Prime Minister Denis Menturov met Finance Minister Nirmala Sitaraman in Parliament, and perhaps that meeting was all about to connect the payment systems, because if this system gets connected, then Indian businessmen can export things to Russia, and perhaps he can be getting the payment done in the local currency. So there are a lot of technical issues also him. It's not that easy, and I say it very responsibly that Russians have been trying from last 2 years to get Indian private players to be investing in Russia. They have been speaking to the big players also. But because out of the fear of sanctions, getting sanctioned by the US and the Europe, Indian private players have largely been resisting the offers being made by the Russian government. But hopefully, since the delegations are meeting, perhaps we could see some change in the approach in days to come.
All right, Siddhant and Arun, thank you so much for bringing your assessments on that as well. And also to our guests, I'm going to request you to please stay on with us. We're going to slip into a very short break, but don't go anywhere. News and updates and discussions on the same will continue on the other side on CNN News 18.